All right, hey guys, here we are in Cooperstown on Main Street, Hall of Fame induction weekend. Tomorrow, Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland are going into the Hall of Fame, class of 2023. And I'm here today with Kenny Hillyard out of Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
And I've followed Kenny on Twitter for a while, and he is a huge Fred McGriff collector. And I just wanted to have a moment to interview him and ask him some questions about how he has this massive Fred McGriff collection. So first of all, Kenny, thank you.
Sure.
And then
yeah.
What's your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle is I Collect McGriff, or the McGriff Collector. Started it about 3 years ago, just as a whim. Didn't think anybody would be really interested in it, but I've been quite surprised at the following so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I follow Kenny, and I Collect McGriff, and he posts a card a day.
Yep.
And I'm always impressed by that. So how did you become a Fred McGriff fan?
So, lifelong Cardinal fan. The late 80s, Cardinals starting to sell off some of their players, so I was pretty irritated about that and was looking for, some new player to follow, and kept seeing this guy in Toronto just hitting home run after home run after home run. So I started just following him, watching him, and I really enjoyed the way that he played the game.
And you were how old then?
17 years old then.
Okay, got it.
Didn't know much about the Blue Jays at that time, and Toronto seemed a million miles away from Texas.
Yeah.
But he played the game the right way.
Yeah.
Put his head down, hit a home run, run the bases, never showed anybody up.
Yeah.
So that's all the things I liked about him.
And then you followed him from the Blue Jays to the Padres.
Yep, and
right?
Padres years.
Huge trade. Do you remember that trade?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember, was that one of those where were you win moments when he got traded?
Not so much for me. I know it's just
other
like
people.
I was for other people for sure. I was a little bit shocked by it.
Yeah.
And that was the Padres years were most of my college years.
Okay.
So it was a little hard him being on the West Coast. This is not a whole lot of internet back then, but we did have a dial-up service, that I could get on late at night and follow those Padres box scores and continue to follow him. And then my senior year of college is when he got traded to the Braves. And he was on TV every day. So
TBS.
TBS. And
so I'm in Braves country
great.
in Nashville. I'm a Dodger fan that lives in Nashville for a long time, which is another story. But I still remember when he got traded to the Braves, and the anniversary of that was just this week, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because the day he got traded, in his very first game is when the press box caught on fire.
That's right.
Which is a crazy story. The Braves just released a mini documentary about it this week.
Yep.
The
day he arrived, they weren't even sure they were going to be able to get the game in. He actually played. It was against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And he ended up hitting a big home run. That tied the game, and the place went crazy.
That was 93, right? And then he was with the team in 95 when they won it all.
Yes.
And you continue to follow his career. I'm trying to think after the Braves where he went after that.
So he ended up with the expansion Rays.
Okay.
In 98. And then spent a few years there, and then with the Cubs. And then up until 2002. And then with the one season with the Dodgers in 2003, and then played a handful of games with the Rays back in 2004.
Where he hit his last home run.
Yep, 493. Yep,
yeah,
with the
493.
Rays.
493. And so I've always thought, I remember his year with the Dodgers, year or so with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great first baseman. Came after Eric Karros, I believe. And I always thought when McGriff was playing, he's a surefire Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Surefire Hall of Famer. Then we didn't know about all the steroid era as much, but he never got the votes.
Right.
Overcrowded ballot.
Yep.
The limit of 10. Just a lot of factors that go into it. And he was in Nashville several years ago at an event at Lipscomb University, my alma mater, and he did a great interview. Got to meet him. Just such a class act guy.
Yep.
And he's always handled the Hall of Fame topic with such class and dignity.
Yep.
And so, and at 493, and a lot of people have said, he was 7 home runs short, and he for sure would have been in the Hall of Fame. I mean, who knows?
Right.
But, obviously the strike of 94, 95, that kept him from 500, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because he was in the midst of the best stretch, or the best season in his career. So, and at the time of the strike, he was actually on a massive heater. He had hit 7 home runs in the last 10 games. before the strike.
Yeah.
And he needed that push to continue his streak of 30 home run seasons. He was
Yeah.
at 27. The word of the strike was coming down.
Oh, he
it
had
was
how many
getting
years?
close.
He had how many straight years?
7 or 8.
Which was a record maybe
Yeah,
at the time?
yeah, at the time. And so
8 straight years of 30 home runs.
yeah,
A record back then.
So, you know, all that was coming down. He had 27 home runs. He got on that massive hot streak, get to 34, and then they called it. Well, 44 games that season, based on the pace that he was at, he would have finished around 48 home runs, which is another 14 than what he finished with. So he would have been in the 507 range just that season, not to mention the 18 games missed the next year in 95. So the strike ended up costing him pretty much 2,500 hits because he finished 10 short, 1,600 RBIs, and then the 500
home runs. Yeah.
So, you know, I try not to think that the writers aren't smart enough to figure that out, that the 7 is what kept him out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, are you telling me that he's the guy with the most home runs that is clean?
Yeah.
And you're going to keep him out?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You know, so that's the part I have a hard, time with.
He gets on the. He falls off the ballot after 10 years.
Yep. And
his
that was
his highest percentage while on the ballot was
39%, I believe, in his last
39%.
year.
And he got on the veterans ballot.
Yep.
And this year, it was so epic this year when he got on the veterans ballot and got in. What was your thoughts and feelings around that when he got in?
So I was a little concerned.
Yeah.
Because it's just like everything seemed to work against him. Yeah. Up until that point, going back to the strike, and then the crowded ballot,
overcrowded ballot
that you mentioned,
steroid era.
In the steroid era, he was clean. In the steroid era, they like to not let the steroid guys in, but they also like to compare the guys who didn't do steroids to the steroid guys. And then say, no, their numbers weren't good enough. So, that being a problem, his start on the ballot was during the time where they had 15 years, and halfway through they cut it down to 10, and they didn't prorate that.
The steroid guys.
Yep, and they didn't prorate that. So he got cut off 5 years short, where people early on may have voted for him. So, and then once he got to the Veterans Committee, they pushed that back a year because of COVID. It should have been last year. And when they pushed it back, they made the rules harder for people to get in on the vets. So I really didn't have a good feeling with it, especially that once the Veterans Committee hit, he ended up on the ballot with Bonds and Clemens, and you had no idea how that was going to go.
No clue.
But the day that it was announced and he ended up getting all 16 votes, it was just like, finally somebody realized, how good of a player he was, and especially that it came from his peers.
Yeah, and how does it feel for you, your wife, for y'all to be here this weekend at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony? You've been to Cooperstown before.
Been to Cooperstown before. We were here in '02 for Ozzie Smith's induction.
Okay.
And had been here a couple other times off the induction weekend. So we got into the hall yesterday and saw his plaque spot, and I got emotional, and I thought I was done with that. But I got really emotional at the spot yesterday, and so we're just happy to be here. Happy for him that he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves.
And right now, Kenny's wearing a different McGriff jersey every day this weekend.
Yep.
You started with the Padres.
Yep. Yesterday was a '93 Padres jersey from his time in San Diego. Today is the '94 Braves jersey with the 125th anniversary patch. And tomorrow we'll be representing his Blue Jays days.
Yep. Now talk about your collection just a little bit as we wrap up. How many total baseball cards does Fred McGriff have in its totality?
So my master list it's actually items, because it'll be like magazine covers and bobbleheads and stuff like that. My master list has roughly 4,400 items on it.
Wow.
Of that, I have
cards,
magazines,
bobbleheads, everything.
Yeah, everything. And I have roughly 3,400 different items right now, and a total of 48,000 total items.
Oh, so a lot of things twice.
Yeah, like a lot of junk wax
3,400 unique, but
Yep.
then a lot of things. 48,000. What
48,000
does
different
storage
items.
look like at home for that?
So I've got it really well organized.
Does he have it really well organized? You can say yes.
Yes, he does.
Yes. She's shaking her head. Yes, yes.
So I basically have a room that it's in, and it's pretty much in a couple of closets. It's doesn't take up a whole lot of space,
Yeah.
and it's only confined to that room. So it's not all over the house or anything
Yeah.
like that. If we had more space, it probably would be.
3,400 unique cards. And so do you think there's a possibility, do you have ambitions to get the other 1,000? I mean,
No, with the introduction of the one-of-one cards and stuff like that, it would be almost impossible to do that. So my focus is really on cards from his playing days.
Yeah.
And I would like to get all of the non-one-of-one cards
Yeah.
from his playing days. Right now I need about 100
Okay.
of those
Got
to
it.
be complete. That's my goal. I still get the new stuff that comes out since he retired, but I favor the stuff from his playing days.
And you're looking forward to the Topps Now card that's going to come out Monday.
Yep.
So it'll come out Monday,
Yeah,
which will be so
absolutely.
awesome.
It'll actually be his first card issued this year.
And have you met Fred before?
I met him at the 2019 National Collectors Convention in Chicago. Just a small little meet and greet.
That's awesome.
That was it. He's a super nice guy. You know, just like what you were talking about earlier, you can't find anybody who's said a bad word about him. He's always has this huge smile on his face, and just the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah. Can you end us with the saying, the commercial saying that he's so famous for?
This is the instructional video that gets results.
That's it. All right, here we are with Kenny, the McGriff collector.
Thank you,
Find
Mark.
him on Twitter.
Yep.
Big fan this weekend. Check out some other videos here on the Simply a Fan YouTube channel. And thanks, Kenny. I appreciate it, man.
Sure. No problem, Mark.